Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I am Jeremy the Kung Fu Guy, and so we've been talking about a couple of critical skills for parents. Number one we talked about was the idea you gotta have influence with your kids. Number two, what gives you influence is rapport. So today we're gonna talk about what kills your influence. And the number one thing that kills your influence faster than anything is judgment, right? You know this to be true. Think about it in your own experience. When you know the person you're talking to thinks you're an ignorant, moronic, stupid baboon of an imbecile, does that motivate you to do what they suggest or what they tell you or what they instruct you or what they command? Or is it kind of like, yeah. And as soon as they turn their back, and you move on. So this is the idea that when you judge, you kill your ability to influence another person. You kill your ability to get in rapport. So we want to work on being sensitive to, wait a minute, I have a strong emotional response or a strong reaction to what I just heard or what I'm seeing. Am I judging? Am I afraid? Am I angry? Where am I at? Because if I'm judging this person, next thing out of my mouth is going to kill my ability to influence them, not build it. Does this make sense? And parents, I already know, dealing with teenagers and that annoying tone of voice that they use, oh my, what? But that's judgment, right? Letting that tonality get to you is like, oh, I'm not going to give you that, kid. There's a skill we're going to talk about next, this idea, what do you need to develop to stop your kids from getting control of you, right? And it's actually something the kids need to develop too. And I have a clip that you can show your kids just this idea of self-control in the first place. And I've done it dozens of times in dozens of places. But go back for a minute to this idea of judgment. Judgment cripples you because when you judge other people or yourself, you lose your ability to lead, to inspire, to pull, to draw, to move to that higher level. You kill all those resources and all that resourcefulness that's inside you and inside other people. Because when somebody feels judged, it becomes a very, very personal conversation and they disengage. They step back and they're just like, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. Whether they say that or their energy does that or their attitude or their feelings or their belief systems. So we want to be very conscientious about what we're judging. So what do you do instead of judging? Well, I'm glad you asked. And the answer to that is you evaluate. You look at a situation, you evaluate, is this going to be healthy, is this going to be unhealthy? If it's going to be one or the other, how can I communicate that in a way that, again, go to what I said earlier, leave it open for them to make their own conclusions, realize their own decisions, help them increase their choices instead of shoving down your perspective, their throat. Does this make sense? So, sorry about that. So how can you evaluate, does this make sense? Is this ecological? Does it work in my life for the long term? Is it something we call sustainable? Or is it just attainable? It's something I could do, but it's not really going to fit in to my life. And so you can evaluate that and say, is this healthy? Is this unhealthy? Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Is this a right thing or a wrong thing? But by evaluating it, you now give yourself room to communicate in a way without that internal sense of certainty about, I know you're wrong, I know you're making a mistake, I know you're this and that. By leaving it open, then you have the ability to influence. Does this make sense? Last thing I want to leave you with, how do you help with that after the evaluation part and build that rapport? Appreciation. Right? Appreciation does not mean agreement, by the way. If I appreciate something you're doing, I can appreciate the energy of it, the intensity of it, but not necessarily the behavior itself. The thing you're doing I don't agree with, but man, your willingness to follow it through, that sense of to heck with everybody, I'm just going to drive and I don't care what the consequences are, man, I've had that passion, I've had that drive. I can respect that. I can appreciate that. And the instant I bring that piece of me, that appreciation out of me, I now have a way to connect to this other person and I can now influence them. Right? So we went back to this idea from judgment kills your ability to build rapport. Rapport is what you need to influence. Well, if I can appreciate someone, I can build rapport. You ever notice when you're really grateful and really happy and really appreciating, you make friends a whole lot easier and people want to do things for you? Right? When you're in a great place, when you have a lot of what we call positive energy inside, it makes it very easy for people to want to do things with you and for you. It's pretty simple. So how can you turn on that appreciation? How can you acknowledge what's in you and what's in someone else and go, oh, like recognizes like. And remember, influence, rapport, people like people who like them. So if you can find something to like in the other person, even if they're doing something reprehensible, I really hate that behavior, right? So I'll give you a quick example. My brother, he used to smoke for like ever, and I got into smoking and out of smoking by like 4th grade. And he started in 7th and he stopped, but then he started smoking as an adult. And yeah, I just, so disgusting. Come on, dude, stop that, knock it off. I put all this pressure on him. I did all these things because I was judging. And he listened to me exactly how much, right? Not an ounce. But one of his buddies at work knew my brother smoked. My brother also likes to go mountain biking. The dude he worked with was like, there's no way you can mountain bike, man. You smoke. You're never going to be that good. And my brother was like, oh, no, I can still do it. I can still da-da-da. And so he wanted to prove something. But again, they had that rapport. They had that influence because of that shared interest in mountain biking. They went mountain biking. My brother was horrible at it. And he quit smoking because he saw that it got in the way of mountain biking. So this friend of his had an influence, had a rapport, because he had an appreciation for a shared behavior, a shared thing, which was the mountain biking. But he didn't like the smoking, but he didn't make my brother wrong for the smoking. He just busted his butt a little bit about it, you know, just giving him some grief. And what happened? By having that friendly, playful back and forth, created the rapport, created the influence, changed the behavior. Does this make sense? So this is a skill that parents can use with their kids, and you can actually use it with your spouse. When you're judging your spouse, life gets a little bit more complicated. Okay? So, all right, so I thank you for your time, and we're going to be back in just a little bit.